Hey guys, Technomentary here with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the iPhone 7 Plus going in 2021 and if this phone is really worth it in 2021. What do you expect compared to the newer iPhones and what can you really expect and should you be buying this? All of that question is going to be answered in this video, but before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are looking to upgrade your device to one of the newer iPhones, make sure you guys check out the discounted link in the description section. So let's go ahead and get started with the iPhone 7 review in 2021. First thing to note is the iPhone 7 Plus is the bigger version of the iPhone 7 that was released around the 2016 time frame, around annual Apple release date around September. So as you can see, the 7 Plus is the bigger size. If you really compare it to the modern day iPhones, it compares to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Max is the plus size edition of it, and surprisingly the size has increased quite a lot compared to the iPhone 7 Plus. The iPhone 7 Plus, as you see in my hand, has a 5.5 inch display compared to the Pro Max 12 that starts with the 6.7 inch. So that's really huge compared to the regular Pro, which is also bigger than this one. It's a 6.1 inch. So if you thought this was big, the Pro Max is actually even huger than the regular lineup. So the iPhone 12, as you can see here, the 12 Pro, actually this one would be comparing it to the iPhone 7, not quite the 7 Plus. So some of the differentials are the size increase, of course. Other thing to notice is that the iPhone 7 has this old aluminum body, which iPhone have kind of evolved from the aluminum body to the more glass body. As you can see, this one with the iPhone 12 Pro and any of the iPhone lineup that you have modern day have gone with this glass back, which kind of is, there's a good and bad to it. The good thing is that you can do wireless charging, which iPhone 7 Plus can't, but the bad thing is with the glass, like with any glass, it can easily shatter. So if you drop it flat and it hits a corner or something, you most likely will have a cracked back, where it's not that easy to crack the aluminum back here. It most likely will get like a dent or something if you didn't have a case or something, because the body is harder. But of course there's no wireless charging, so that's the other aspect to think about. And the other thing, of course, physically you'll notice the difference is that on the iPhone 7 Plus is when the Apple introduced sort of that dual camera on the back, but the newer Pro Max has triple camera like the one that we've seen here. So you're going to expect something like that, where there's a triple lens camera and this LiDAR sensor that's not available on the 7 Plus. So quite a lot of change in terms of the body itself. Of course, you still have the speakers on the bottom. You have the whole lightning port that also serves as the headphone jack, where Apple removed the actual 3.5 millimeter jack for your headphones. So those are some of the noticeable things. The other noticeable thing in terms of the hardware is the chip changes. So the iPhone 7, it's almost over 4 years. You can coming to its 5th year, 4.5 years or so. So the chip has changed on the phone. This phone has a A10 Bionic chip compared to the newer lineup, which has the A14 Bionic chip. So 4 generation old in terms of the chip. And how well does that hold up? Well, later in the video when you talk about the software of the phone, you'll probably get a little bit more idea in terms of that. How about the battery life? So the iPhone 7 Plus does have a decent battery. If you're buying it new, it's rated to have 21 hours of battery life on generic usage. If you talk about playback, which is probably the bigger comparison, because that's how you compare in terms of how well the battery holds up, the iPhone 7 Plus is around rated to have 13-14 hours of video playback compared to the iPhone 12 Pro here, as we have, is around 17 hours or so. So you're getting about extra couple hours more on the new iPhones because the battery has improved, of course. That's the thing with the newer phones. You just get a bigger battery, just slight improvement. Not sure you'll notice, but if you use a lot of app streaming that does video and such, you'll probably notice that a little bit of different in terms of the actual battery life of the phone. Let's talk about a little bit about the actual front-facing LCD that we have here. You'll notice on the iPhone 7 Plus has a Super Retina LCD display compared to the newer lineup, which has the OLED. Hence why there's this big price difference of the phone. Of course, the iPhone 12 Pro Max starts at $1099 currently, and compared to this one, which starts around $700 or so when it came out. So you saw the starting point in the beginning is big difference because of the actual LCD technology incorporated between these devices. Hence why you're seeing the jump in price. Of course, the iPhone itself, it still, holds up pretty well. If you were gonna really look at to compare the LCD of it, you'll notice the brightness on the iPhone 7 is pretty much, it goes neck to neck, but there's a little less brightness when you're at the highest setting. This is something you'll notice when you're in a light setting where there's bright light, is that you'll notice the iPhone 12 Pro and the Pro Max has a brighter screen compared to the iPhone 7 Plus because of the OLED versus the LCD technology that we have here. So enough about the hardware of the iPhone 7 Plus. Let's talk a little bit about the actual software. So the iPhone 7 Plus still does get the latest update, iOS 14. As you can see, we're on iOS 14 upgraded to that version. The iPhone 6, as you know, couldn't get the iOS 14 update. It's still stuck in iOS 12, but the iPhone 7 Plus, luckily we're able to still get the update. It might be the final update for this phone because this phone is quite old and Apple usually starts the update around the full 5-year mark or so. So not sure if Apple will actually update the 7 Plus to have iOS 14. So it is pretty much the last straw of its update, because as things changes, Apple starts the updates. What usually happens when you stop the update is some of the apps starts to not be compatible anymore because of security concerns, software compatibility. The hardware isn't enough to run the actual app. So that's what happens usually when the software updates start. But luckily with the 7 Plus going in 2021, you're able to run iOS 14. And the other good thing about it is that although Apple might not release the iOS 15 update for the iPhone 7 Plus, is that you still get this 2 years or so more support of a lot of the popular apps. As you see here, we have on iOS 14 downloaded pretty much all the popular apps out there, all of your social media, your video streaming, your productivity tool. You see all of these apps are up and running. There's no really any issues getting these apps downloaded. So that's usually what happens if you have running like an older iOS. The one thing you'll start to notice is apps aren't compatible anymore because it's not being able to upgrade to the latest iOS. But none of that issue is going to persist. We've seen, video streaming apps, music app work flawlessly. There's really no app crashes on either. Just kind of goes to show that Apple software is probably a little bit superior of some of the other operating system on the market because of its stability. And that's probably the biggest reason why you buy an iPhone and you pay such a high price tag, is because you have this sort of stability with the phone. You don't have app crashes, anything like that, and less bugs, if any, that we have ever seen. So let's talk about the phone itself. Is this phone still good in 2021? That's probably a bigger question to ask. Well, it depends on what your purpose of the phone is. If you're looking for a phone that you use for basic calling and texting, this phone does a phenomenal job. That kind of stuff. If you're browsing, you're using light browsing, phone calling, and you really don't care about too much about the speed, the iPhone 7 Plus is a great option. It's cheaper, it's running iOS 14, and you sort of have this full feature of iPhone if you were upgrading to a newer phone, because it runs the same software. You're not going to notice much different. It's definitely a great starter phone, and it's great for someone that might be younger, younger kids, or someone that you're looking to use it and they don't really care, but they want to use the iPhone, get that experience to use FaceTime, iMessage, all of the most popular apps run and such. So that's still a good phone if you're doing that. But if you're going to be looking to look for a more updated phone for photography, or even to play higher end games, or really looking to run the latest and the greatest things like getting on 5G if your carrier supports it, that's probably the biggest thing that comes out of the iPhone 12 Pro upgrade is the 5G compatibility. And if your carrier supports 5G, you probably want to get the newer phones. But the thing about 5G is that it's so new and it just came out. A lot of the carriers aren't yet supporting 5G quite yet. So with 5G, to really get the most out of it, you might have to wait another year or two when the bigger companies, carriers at least, goes mainstream with 5G when it's really compatible. Because right now, up to iPhone 11 Pro lineup is you have 4G LTE, which the iPhone 7 Plus does have 4G LTE compatibility. Hence why, as you saw on a decent cellular network, you're not going to notice much difference between using the newer phones versus the older phone. Slight, maybe if any, bit of slowdown when as you see when we launch an app. There's sort of this 1 to 2 second delay when you're opening apps, but after the app is fired on, as you see, we're able to just browse flawlessly. The 4th generation chip difference doesn't make too much of a difference for someone to notice. The one thing I do say is that if you're looking to use it for heavier games that are meant to play on the console or does have a lot of graphics intensive IO that's being done, that's just like being able to serve up that kind of graphic, you might not get the most out of it. So for a heavy gamer, you might want to consider getting a newer phone. But if you're playing light games, like the ones that are just really basic, doesn't really require the phone to have a updated chip and graphic card, you might get away with using this phone. And the reason is that right now you can actually get this phone probably under $250 or even less, depending on where you look at it. That's why we gave you the link in the description for you guys to check it out. If you're looking to purchase this phone, it still get the job done. But if you have it or considering maybe something newer to get, I would definitely recommend look into iPhone 10 or above to be more up to date, because as you know, the iOS updates are going to stop and you're going to start losing that whole supportability. So hopefully that this video was helpful. If this video is helpful, please make sure the like button is a subscribe button. Also, if you guys have any comment, concern, any sort of questions, leave it in the comment section. We also want to hear from you guys. What phone do you guys currently have and how is that working out in 2021? Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.